Good morning, chat, and welcome. It's finally time to return to 14. But we're not gonna have a super crazy one today. Like I mentioned in my going live, these past couple of weeks have been super exhausting, mostly mentally. We're entering a period in my work in which, effectively everything is dirty all the time because it's winter, which means people are tracking, sand and water into sand, water, and salt and stuff into entryways, which means that they're constantly dirty and horrible looking all the time. But all we can really do is clean it up once and then just do nothing for the rest of the day or do nothing to it for the rest of the day because people have to use the entrance, and when they use the entrance, they will inevitably make it dirty again. The problem is that my boss has not been working with us since there was a winter. This is her first winter working here. So she's convinced that she has to keep it clean 100% of the time, which is impossible. And that combined with some other things that are going on with how she's attempting to rearrange our tasks at work means that she is super stressed, and it is kind of leaking out to all of us on the team, which isn't her fault, I don't think. But the last couple of weeks were definitely more stressful for me than this week has been. This week I have finally realized the solution to why or how to handle this, which is just be a really cool guy who doesn't really give a shit, just don't care, just kind of let everything roll off your back. And I can watch in real time as I do that, and everybody else on my team, except for the new person we just hired, who's a very sweet lady, everybody else except me and her are steadily getting more stressed and are kind of at each other's throats, which is just oh boy. Anyway, but yeah, you're not here to hear me talk about my work bullshit, even though you just did. Today, my plan is I was weighing if I wanted to start MSQ or just do kind of a chill unlocking stream, and I eventually kind of decided on a chill unlocking stream because there are a number of things ahead that I need to have a guest for, or otherwise I will go insane reading by myself, and I did not do the due diligence to get a guest ahead of time, so I just kind of elected to say, fuck it, I'm gonna just kind of do a chill reading of sightseeing logs and maybe unlocking some other stuff today. MSQ is definitely one of those things that you'd probably want to have one other person for, to either bounce stuff off of or just have, somebody to do a little bit more of the reading for you. Or not for you. Well, I guess yes, for you. In place of you is a better way of putting that. Every single time I say that I leave one of these streams, I say, I'm gonna make a plan for the order in which we're going to be reading all of these things, and every time I start one of these streams I think to myself, boy, I sure haven't done that still yet, and today is no different. But I'm also coming to kind of the terms that there's actually so little in this post Heavensward compared to post A Realm Reborn that we really have to do, because we did all the job quests and stuff before we finished the main story. the main things that are going to take the longest are MSQ, because there's so much of it, and relics, because they require grinding. And it worked out nicely in A Realm Reborn that we were able to divide the relic up into little steps after each MSQ step. And I think we're going to try and do that this time as well. And also using the MSQ steps to break up some of the other things. Like, for example, we'll probably do the Alliance raids sometime after we do MSQ stuff. We'll probably do Warring Triad after another MSQ break. You know, like the really long, chunky story things are probably all going to have their own separate things after an MSQ block, which is going to be not too bad. And since we've done Alexander already, that means probably next stream is going to be an MSQ thing. But yeah, that's my little explanation of what's going on with this series. Both because I'm just kind of talking through it right now to myself to get an idea of it, and also just putting the information out there. But yeah, let's go ahead and switch over. So today we are in Ruja's dank-ass book-covered room, and we're gonna start off by reading the sightseeing log stuff, because I've been meaning to do that, and previously I was thinking about doing the sightseeing logs like whenever we got to like an appropriate area that was related to that specific thing, but that would require me remembering where you actually go and then, you know, keeping like a list of what needs stuff. And I'm not going to do that. Before I begin reading, though, I'm going to grab some water real quick. I will be right back. Forgot to do that. Okay, I'm back. Didn't take long. All right. Excuse me. Sightseeing log. Here we are. Heavensward. As you can see, we've now finished the Heavensward stuff because we beat Alexander, which is required for getting the sightseeing log, which is very funny. Alright, so what we're going to do, as usual with these, is we're going to display the impressions first, and then read the actual Vista record. So first we have, from high atop the western highlands of Corthus, I looked out upon the realm in all her glory. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. Falcon's Nest. From its humble origins as a lonely cluster of barracks nestled in the mountains of western Corthus, the village of Falcon's Nest grew and prospered until the calamity came and the icy winter took its deathly toll. Its name derives from the falconers who reside there with their snow-white charges, defending their mountain home from the Dravanian threat. Editor's note. I don't think you ever actually see any falconers in Falcon's Nest, which feels like a real missed opportunity, but maybe they just don't want to model birds. Next up. Let me just make sure of something really quick here. Yeah, okay, so these impressions, unless they say something different, I'm just going to skip them. So yeah, Camp Riversmeet. Once a key military outpost for the Ishgardian forces, this strategic location where the waters of the Swiftrun and the Corthus flow together is home to a lone aetheryte shard, which has stood abandoned in the years since the calamity. The Dreaming Dragon. What appears to be an island floating amidst the icy waters of Ashpool is said to have once been a living, breathing dragon, magicked into slumber by the holy sea until ash enveloped its body and its limbs turned nigh unto stone. The Dusk Vigil. The calamity was not kind to this once proud watchtower, from which Sir Hugh Helmeric and the brave knights of House Durindare once stood watch against the encroaching horde. Since the walls fell and the chill took hold, it has come to be inhabited by all manner of fell beast, and gods only know what else. Cannibals, mostly. Gorgain Mills. Or actually, sorry, Sir Gorgain. Wait, is it Gorgagny? Sir, there we go. Hugh Helmeric, who was met in 1.0. That's right, wearing his basic-ass adventurer armor. Sir Gorgagny was a proud knight and bannerman of House Durindare, until the fateful day when the heir of that house vanished from sight while under his care, never to be seen again. Devastated by the loss of the boy and his own failing, he put aside his blade and built this farm, where he quietly lived out the rest of his days. Hemlock. Once a bustling village and home to the woodcutters who plied their trade in the western highlands of Corthus, this settlement, named for the large evergreens unique to the area, was abandoned when the chill came and remains a ghost town to this day. The Bed of Bones. It remains to be confirmed whether, as the tales say, Yetis prefer to slumber atop makeshift bedding fashioned from the remains of their victims, in large part because prominent naturalists have been reluctant to do the fieldwork necessary to corroborate this claim. That's fair. And now we have the Dravanian Forelands. From high atop the Dravanian Forelands, I looked out upon the realm in all her glory. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. Lost Ast Nath. Built from a highly viscous blend of Dravanian clay and saliva, the nests of the Nath are surprisingly stable, able to withstand the harsh elements of the Dravanian Forelands. The smoke that rises from the mound-like structures is believed to be a sort of incense with a scent that, for reasons unknown, keeps would-be dragon invaders at bay. And we know for a fact that that is true. It's silver dew, which drives dragons off. Annex Minor, the shattered ruins of a once proud city. The official stance of the Holy See is that it was a settlement of heretics razed to the ground by Halone in an act of divine retribution, though scholars disagree on the historical accuracy of this interpretation. It is interesting to me that, like, how do I put this? The seeds of doubt of whether that interpretation is actually the correct one is present even as early as you can get this sightseeing log. But at this point, you know, you'll probably have met Izael, and you probably know that Ishgardians are kind of full of shit. And I did just look it up. Reading does not, or this text does not change based on where you are in the story, which makes sense, but, you know, could have been cool. Excuse me. Annex Shrine. 3 towers, unique in that they appear to have been built to house both man and dragon, an architectural oddity which would seem to corroborate with the Holy See's position that they were erected by heretic witches for themselves and their dragon consorts. Okay, kind of, why does it gotta be, why you gotta blame women? There could be some dudes who wanted to fuck women dragons, you don't know. The 100 Throws. The rushing river has all but swallowed these ancient ruins at the base of Som All, which now serve as a nest to all manner of beastkin who find sustenance in its waters, and the dragons who find sustenance in said beastkin. This is also an area that is really cool looking, that just gets absolutely no play in the story or quests or anything. Speaking of which, Halo. This ancient altar sits in the fiery depths of Morn. Once adorned by statues depicting a girl and a dragon, only the latter has survived to the present age. Lift your eyes to the above the structure, and the base of the floating peak of Som All can be seen. Oh wait, actually no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of something different. This is the statue that has the dragon that leads up to Som All. This is the easy one to get, because you just see it when you're doing MSQ. So this is story related. My bad. Tailfeather. Founded by hunters who came to the frontiers in hopes of snaring the wild chocobos of the forest, this settlement and all who call it home are shielded from the eyes of the dragons by the canopy of majestic talum trees that rise high above it. Som All. Of all the mighty peaks that comprise Abelathia's spine, none rise higher than Som All, the highest point in all Eorzea. It is held as sacred land by the dragons, who are said to journey here when they feel their life slipping away. Formed not of stone, but solid crystal, the massive mountain floating above the ground below is a marvelous sight to behold. From high atop the churning mists, I looked out upon the realm in all her glory. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. Mogholm, a settlement that sits atop Som All, the tallest peak in Eorzea, in the heart of the dragon's demesne. What pact might the Mughals have made with the great worm Hraesvelgr to allow them to live here in peace? The Eyrie. Vicious aetheric storms rage in Nidhogg's lair, keeping out all those who would dare disturb the great worm in his slumber, be it one of years or centuries. Tharl Kash, an ancient structure half consumed by crystal. Its name means crystal from remorse in the tongue of dragons. From the sheer mass of crystallization, it has been posited that an entity possessed of aetheric power to rival the 7 great worms laid down its life here. What does that mean? Fuck if I know, man. Although, actually, here, let me check something. Aha! I was right! This is, reading from the Encyclopedia Eorzea here. You know how I'm sure you all know, I've made my opinions on lore from supplementary materials perfectly clear, but in this case it does actually help answer a question. Reading from the Churning Mists entry in here on page 165, it reads, Tharl Kash means crystal from regret in the dragon tongue, and is likely a reference to the deep purple clusters in which the ruins of the structure are buried. According to Dravanian elders, this was where the great worm Ratatoskr was lured into a trap by men and met her end. So this is where the murder happened. And you know what? That's interesting. It's funny that an entity possessed of aetheric power to rival the 7 great worms laid down its life here. Yeah, meaning one of the 7 great worms laid down its life here. Which, I mean, true, I guess, you know? Zenith, a majestic fortress in Hraesvelgr's domain, watched over at the great worm's behest by the Mughals, who make their home in the churning mists. Though the years, 1,000 of them, have taken their toll, it still stands proud and strong, stirring the hearts of all those who lay eyes on it. Just out of curiosity, I'm looking through here about once again in the Churning Mists page of the Encyclopedia Eorzea. Some of these descriptions, for example, the description for Zenith, is exactly the same as the Sightseeing log entry. But Tharl Kash, the one we just read, is different and actually gives more information. And presumably, if I had to, like, guess, let's see, when did this book... 2 years ago? That seems unlikely. There's no way this book only came out 2 years ago. Oh, no, 2016 it looks like is when this book was released in North America. 2016 in Japan. When did Heavensward come out? A year previous. Okay, yeah. So I'm good. This is me speculating here. I think that they hadn't decided who died here yet, and then a year later they were like, "Oh, it's probably Ratatoskr. Let's put that in there." Either that, or they didn't want to spoil who it was that died there, because that is an important story thing. Anyway. The Lost Landlord. This colossus stands on an island in Greensward. Its name was bestowed by the Mughals, who believe it to be a statue of the King of the Land Dwellers, though no record remains that could shed light on the identity of this individual and whether or not he ever truly walked the realm. That description is the same in Encyclopedia Eorzea. The House of Letters. The 1,000-year-old ruins of a tower said to have been built by the hand of man and dragon in the days before the war. Even now, as it lies crumbling in ruin, one can still make out letters engraved in its walls, which have led the Mughals to give it the name by which it is now commonly known. Yep, that's the same there. I'm just going to keep checking all of these to see if there's any discrepancies. Because that is a pretty major discrepancy, I will say. Anyway. The Rookery. As the Mughals tell it, this place was known as the Rookery. The place known as the Rookery was once a bustling skyport where wayfarers came and went on the backs of trained wyverns. These days, the building remains, but the only dragons in sight are the vicious minions of Nidhogg. Yep, same. And now we are on to the Sea of Clouds, my most hated. From high atop the Sea of Clouds, I looked out upon the realm in all her glory. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. That is such a... feels like such a cumbersome sentence. It could just be me not being very good at reading, but, I don't know. Camp Cloudtop. An outpost manned by the Rose Knights of House Hallianart who stand watch against the Dravanian incursions from atop the floating islets in the sky. Boasts the Protector, a mighty airship that would avail the Ishgardians greatly in their battle against the Horde, were it ever repaired to full strength. And there is a little bit more... the Protector is actually given its own little section here in the Encyclopedia Eorzea, but I am just going to... I'm not going to read that. I'm going to just keep this open and point out discrepancies because I have some thoughts about what we could do with the Encyclopedia Eorzea someday that I will leave for later. The Nidifice, a nest of great migratory birds that travel with the seasons from the Near East to Eorzea and back again in search of warmer climes. It is here that they lay their eggs, raise their young, and teach them to take to the skies before making the journey anew. Same in the book. Vur Sian Siran. A spring formed from the moisture in the atmosphere accumulated and solidified by the power of water crystals. It is said that the knight who first discovered these ethereal waters shared the story with a wandering minstrel, who declared it to be the legendary paradise of Vur Sian Siran. However, this claim has been met with some skepticism, given the minstrel's penchant for embellishment. Interesting. I was actually always kind of thinking that Vorsion Siran was a Vanu Vanu name, but it doesn't really have the same naming convention that the rest of their places do, so I suppose not. Mok Ugal Island, an island whose name in the tongue of the Vanu Vanu translates to a noise heard on high. On the island stands a monument engraved with the mark of Mughal design, but no sign of the creatures themselves, leaving its origins clouded in mystery. We did learn a little bit about this island ourselves when we did the Bard quests. Hall of the Fallen Plume. Among the most sacred locations of the Vanu Vanu, this is said to be the spot where a single feather from Bismarck, ruler of the clouds, fell to the surface. In recent years, the elder of the violent Vundu tribe has claimed it as his seat of power, from which he rules with an iron claw. Vundu Vana, excuse me. Roughly translating as High Home of the Vundu, this village is home to the Vanu Vanu's aggressive Vundu tribe. Exceedingly proud, the Vundu believe that the voices of those who live highest in the skies will be heard loud and clear by the ruler of the clouds. Hengir's Crucible. This oddly shaped isle, floating in the eastern reaches of the Sea of Clouds, is named for the witch Hengir, a figure of Corthan fairy tale whose cauldron its shape is said to resemble. Okay, sorry, I just needed to finish the part of that sentence for it to make sense. In recent years, it has become a gathering place for the notoriously territorial Toko Tokos. Kind of wish we got a little bit more about Hengir there, but whatever. And now we are on to the Hinterlands. Hang on. Where the fuck are the Hinterlands? Okay, there we go. I guess that kind of makes sense that it's not a part of the Ishgard stuff. Anyway. Excuse me. From high atop the Dravanian hinterlands, I looked out upon the realm in all her glory. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. The Architecton. There we go. Took me a couple tries, but I got it. Once home to the Sharlayan masters who fashioned aetherites within its halls, this workshop is now home to the Illuminati, a nasty band of goblins who would wield the ancient technologies within for their own nefarious ends. The Answering Quarter. This Sharlayan settlement stretches across the western banks of the Thaliak, home to Saint Mosian's Arboretum. I always fuck that word up. And a center for education and scholarly pursuits. It harkens back to the cities of learning that flourished in bygone times. The Cenotaph, a towering monolith erected in tribute to the great scholars who have passed on, leaving behind the knowledge that has shaped the realm. The names of countless men of learning are etched upon the mighty stone, along with the motto of Sharlayan, knowledge seeks no man. What about women, huh? Huh? Sharlayan, you fuckers? The Tipped Ewer. The spot where the melted snows of Abalathia's spine flow emerge from their source to descend down the mountain, forming the countless tributaries that come together as the mighty Thaliak River. The name is said to come from a deity whose name the river bears, and the magicked pitcher from which poured the waters of knowledge. You might recall that Thaliak is famous for one of his symbols is, I believe, the pitcher, or the ewer rather. Let me double check that. No, his symbol is the scroll, but he's a ruler of rivers, so yeah, that makes sense. Anyway. The Great Googly Moogly Library, a massive library constructed by the Sharlayans to house the wealth of knowledge they had amassed in their travels across the realm. Though the vast majority of the tomes that once lined its shelves were carried back to the motherland in the Exodus, it is said forbidden texts still slumber in sealed-off vaults below. The Orn Wild, a primeval forest that stretches across the northern reaches of the Dravanian hinterlands, its rich verdure sustained by the pristine waters of the Thaliak. Nigh untouched by the hand of man, its wilds stand between those who would make their way to Sharlayan without braving a trek across the Forelands. And St. Mosian's Arboretum. This botanical garden built by the Sharlayans once was home to fauna and flora collected from across the realm, the study of which yielded numerous discoveries regarding our natural world. Sadly, it was abandoned in the Exodus, the teeming life within left to run wild and unchecked. And now, as is law. The Gratian. Flagship of the 6th Legion of the Garlean Empire, of the same make as the fallen Agrius. It now lies grounded, its cerulean engines sealed in etheric ice by the hand of Shiva, Lady of Frost. Agrius, by the way, is the Imperial warship that is impaled in Mordona, or the areas surrounding Mordona, and it's the one that Midgardsormr's corpse is curled around. The Fractal Continuum. A mighty warship converted to a museum intended to preserve for eternity precious artifacts from the 1,000-year history of the Allagan Empire. From everyday tools to advanced military technology, the objects within are a testament to the fallen civilization's surpassing might and prosperity. Antithesis. Home to Tiamat, great worm of Midgardsormr's first brood, who fell to and was imprisoned by the Allagans. Even now, she laments her fateful decision to summon her brood brother Bahamut back as a primal to aid her in her struggle. A Therochemical Research Facility. An ancient Allagan research facility, wherein studies in restraining dragons and mastering primals were conducted. Test subjects from failed experiments prowl its long-since-abandoned halls. Also, I forgot to read this thing, so I'll read it for the next one. From high atop Azizla, I looked out upon the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. How did you get here? Ironheart, person who wrote the Sightseeing log. You couldn't get to this place before I opened it up. How? Anyway. Helix, a massive port of sorts that stands amongst the wastes of Azizla. As the guidance node tells it, it was one of few Imperial landings massive enough to house Ragnarok-class internment hulks. It would seem that these docking rings that remain are but a fraction of those that stood in bygone days. Quarantine Block. This floating islet is in a lonely corner of Azizla, served as an isolation area for chimerical creations which failed to meet established safety parameters. Historical records indicate that the facility began its life as a research center for advanced agricultural crossbreeding. Recombination Labs. This Allagan research facility gave birth to countless numbers of chimerical creations. Though the guidance system is quick to assure all visitors that the good behavior of the creatures born here was, at least one point, guaranteed, recent visitors may find themselves having doubts. Hang on a sec. Okay, so that is actually a slightly different thing for that. So I'll read this. From high atop the western highlands of Korthus, I looked out upon the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. The Pike. A monumental stone sculpture carved in the likeness of Haldrath, the first Azure Dragoon. The stonemason Purcell devoted 30 of her later years chiseling the piece, and it has stood for more than 150 years since. Even today, one cannot find a more stirring tribute to one of Ishgard's founding fatherers and murderers. Although, Haldrath was kind of remorseful about it, and he showed his remorse by slaughtering countless dragons. for, you know, being mad at him for his dad for killing one of them. Also, I gotta say, must be really easy to depict Haldrath considering every Dragoon's armor looks exactly the same. Except for this sick-ass cape. That's something I wish we could get on Dragoons. I don't think the shape would work well for a model. Let's see. That's the same one. Black Iron Bridge. This testament to the skill of House Dismail's artisans serves the main road stretching from the capital to the Dusk Vigil. Although built primarily of solid stone, the bridge was named for its suspended metal chains, wrought from black iron impervious to the blazing temperatures of a dragon's exhalation. Dragon Spit. Said to be as scalding as a worm's breath, Dragon Spit is a colorful analogy for the hot springs nestled between the cliffs near the Slate Mountains. Local wildlife has long been attached to the warmth of the natural thermal pools, and their numbers have only increased following the advent of the long winter. The steaming springs are also frequented by Ishgardian knights, who laud them for their supposed healing properties. And the Slate Mountains. These mountains on the outskirts of Ishgard were mined as valued as a mining site for slate of exceptional quality. 3 years past, the Knights of House Dismail attempted to carve an Ishgardian stronghold into the cliffs, enraging the dragon... Hang on. Culebrae and his followers. Remnants of that gruesome battle that followed still lie scattered about the crags, unable to decay in the chilled altitude. Wilholm River. Oh, sorry, first. From high atop the Dravanian forelands, I looked out on the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. Wilholm River. When asked to explain the origin of the name, the local hunters usually say that while the river courses with tranquility in the present day, once it ran scarlet with the blood of Dravanians and their foes. Those who fraternize with the dragons refute this interpretation, asserting that instead the river is symbolic of the passage of time since the sorrowful parting of paths between man and dragon. I love that they interviewed Heretic for this. Sorry, just doing a quick check here. Huh. Interestingly, the Wilholm River is actually not mentioned in the Encyclopedia Eorzea here. Interesting. Lost Vath. Cast out from the main colony, a minority of the Nath known as the Non-Mind built Lost Vath as a sanctuary for other exiles. The word Vath is derogatory in the Nathic tongue, referring to those who can no longer link their thoughts to the Overmind. Possessive of individual personalities, unlike their one-mind brothers, the Vath learn to live with each other's differing thoughts in the makeshift colony. The Hissing Cobbles. The remaining fragment of a forgotten highway, the Hissing Cobbles have been molded by the inexorable march of time, its neatly arranged grids of stone fading into earth and dust. The hunters of Tailfeather bitterly call it such, as many a tracked quarry have escaped, startled by the hissing sound of boots grating on loose gravel. Also not mentioned in that page, or in this page. The book, I mean. The Dana Road. This road leading to Annex Trine was originally called Drawn Urn, which roughly translates to Path of Dragon and Man. Due to the difficult pronunciation, the road became known as the Dana Road over time, and its profound meaning was forgotten by all but the Dravanians. Also, not in the book. Oh wow, we're almost done. That's crazy. Turning Mists. Statue of the Unsung. A solitary statue of a dragon in the southeastern corner of the Turning Mists. While it is difficult to ascertain the circumstances which led to its creation, the sculpture's foundations bear a weathered inscription in an early script which reads, "Along with the memory of thine heroic sapphire wings." Let's see if that one is mentioned, because that feels like there's some very specific lore behind that. And naturally, it is not mentioned in here. Very cool. Dang it, I really wanted to know more about that one. Okay, moving on. Also, from high atop the churning mists, I looked out upon the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. You know the deal. Landlord Colony. The many dwellings here show evidence of extensive damage, likely the work of a furious Nidhogg following the betrayal of man. The Mughals tell that the ruins were once home to lords of the lower lands, although their history was lost in the Great Worm's wrath. Also not mentioned in here. A lot of these latter half of these seem to not be mentioned, other than the pike, which is just so important, I guess. It is a cool statue, I guess. The Old Father. The Mughals consider this ancient tree to be the forebearer of all flora in the churning mists. They believe that the Father bore witness to a time before man and dragon descended into their millennium of bloodshed. Very possible. And Sea of Clouds, my favorite. I'm going to remember to do this part first. From high atop the Sea of Clouds, I looked out upon the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. Cold Wind. When the Rose Knights first came to the Sea of Clouds and treated with the Zundu, they asked the chieftain what he called this islet floating northwest of Oxzundu, to which he responded, "Small island beneath which cold winds of Korthus ever blow." For the sake of brevity, the knights simply called it Cold Wind. I suppose that is, you know, it is brev. The Shattered Back. The strong seasonal winds from the north have carved the crags of this floating isle into their unique shapes. The Knights of Ishgard called it the Shattered Back for its ominous resemblance to the gnarled rib bones of a great beast. Provenance. When Sir Marielle was appointed to the Rose Knights of Camp Cloudtop, she spotted this heart-shaped island atop the deck of her airship bound for post. It reminded the knight of a place of provenance where two lovers would begin their journey together, and thus the island was named thus. Hinterlands. From high atop the Dravani hinterlands, I looked out upon the realm in all her twisted beauty. There I saw a sight that will be sung of for as long as songs are sung. The Sage's Cataract. As the Thaliak River stretches north towards the Orne Wild, it spills over this grand waterfall. In the past, students would compete to see who could swim closest to the cataract's edge without succumbing to its powerful torrents. A ban on entering the waters was eventually imposed after too many accidents. That makes sense. Also, sorry, I'm just going to look something up really quick here because I'm very curious. No? Okay. The Path of Knowing. This colossal bridge was once a bustling artery for researchers, students, and curators commuting to and from the Great Gooba Library. Its stone pillars suffered significant damage when the calamity reshaped the land, causing a portion of the walkway to crumble and collapse. I was just looking this up. I was trying to figure out which sightseeing log was the one that you needed to get on top of Alexander's Head for, and it's number 31, the Cenotaph. Which is funny to me because I was curious to see if it was introduced in the same patch that, like, the last bit of Alexander was introduced in, because I'm fairly certain that you can't get on top of Alexander's Head until, like, the last bit of the quest line, which would have been introduced in 3.4, but it seems like it was introduced in 3.0, so I would be curious to know if it is actually possible to get that sightseeing log before you do Alexander. Because I genuinely don't know. Anyway. The daggers. An area of the hinterlands where clusters of stone columns shaped like daggers protrude from the earth, the scholars of Charlian had long been engulfed in a heated debate over whether the name was too simple and colloquial, but a different one was never decided upon as the proposals began to exceed the columns in number. That's pretty funny. As is law. I think this is actually the same one as... Yeah, this one is actually the same as before. The centrifugal crystal engine. This seemingly indefatigable engine harnessed the power of the imprisoned warring triad, something we will learn about later, to transmute the life force of chimera experiments into synthetic crystal. These manufactured shards would then be used to fuel the cultivation of the chimeras as part of research into the possibility of obtaining limitless power. Biomass Incubation Complex, a research facility dedicated to chimera splicing experiments. Its construction was prompted by imaginative requests from the Allegan Research Council and related institutes, leading to the cultivation of all manner of living prototypes. The mutagenesis nearby serves as an annex to the complex. And finally, the last sightseeing log in all of Heavensward, the cathedral. How very Catholic. A cathedral designed in a distinct Mericidian style, the architecture suggests a place of worship by the tribe of tree-like beings who believe themselves remnants of Sephiroth. To research the link between faith and primal summonings, the Allegan moved the ancient structure to Azizla from its original location on the southern continent. I do like that as an explanation, that they literally just like, were like, okay, how can we, what's the connection between, like, people's faith and summoning of primals? What's the best way to do that? Let's just pick up this whole fucking cathedral and take it to our place, you know? Just rip the whole thing out. Also, a mention of Sephiroth there, as well as the tree dudes who worship him. We will learn a little bit more about them in the Warring Triad stuff when we get to that. But there we go. That is all the sightseeing logs read. Oh god, I'm stuck. But we've only been going for about, well, technically, not counting the opening, about 47 minutes. So let's go ahead and chat up the Wandering Minstrel in Mordona. Do some unlocking. Thornton's Reign. Alice is casting a pained glance at one of her regulars. Greetings, Ruja. Yon bard has been gazing forlornly at the door for days, awaiting your return to the seventh heaven. Pray be so kind as to indulge the suffering fool and favor him with one of your epic tales. It seems his inspiration has run dry once more, and only a draft of your most excellent adventuring vintage will slake his creative thirst. I'll serve you in a moment, but I'd appreciate it if you could first spare a story for our musical friend over there. Hey man, you want to hear about, how I killed the Pope? Ruja, at last! In muted agony have I lingered, longing to hear the hero herself speak of her epic deeds in Ishgard and beyond. The frozen tundra you braved, and into the vault of the heavens you ascended, to a sacred peak, both temple and tomb, to a ruined city, reborn and resettled, to a citadel of the ancients you ventured, parting the misty veil of millennia. The journey made by you and your companions had made its mark upon the stars, and I would hear the tale in its entirety. Okay, well here, man, let me send you the playlist for Heavensward reread. Your words have worked a miracle upon my melancholy heart. New verses arise unbidden and threaten to spill from my lips. My harp! I must have my harp! The song of war twixt worm and man some 1,000 years ago began, when mortals grasped for godly might, defaming name of king and knight, In Az's law, for woe or weal, did holy will meet righteous steel, and thence was high divinity compelled by light to bend the knee. That was a good one. Flowed very well. What say you? Have I captured the spirit of your triumph? Pray forgive any small liberties I may have taken with the details. One cannot evoke the proper picture of your glory without a certain measure of embellishment. And there we go. Thornton EX unlocked. Anything else to say, buddy, or am I just gonna get a full-ass fucking cutscene talking to you? Let's see. Pretty sure this is the same as before. Yeah, it is. You have anything else to say, Alice? Scions have been busy making new friends of late, and the place is lively again for their presence. I must say, it warms the heart to see folk come together in common cause. Let's go ahead and look at Minstrel's Ballad real quick here. Minstrel's Ballad, Thornton's Reign. With his typical flair for embellishment, the Wandering Minstrel has woven yet another stirring epic, this time from the threads of your Az's Law confrontation with Archbishop Thornton VII. With the final verse yet ringing in the chambers of your mind, the memories of that titanic struggle arise once more with almost surreal clarity. Also, I'm going to say this ahead of time because I don't know if... well, this is something important to note, I think. I don't know if we're going to be able to do the Mount quest for Heavensward. We were able to do it with A Realm Reborn kind of by coincidence, because we were farming light, and we got just kind of lucky with horse drops. I'm still deciding if I want to go out of my way to do that, because that's going to be something that requires help from people to unsync them, because I am not at a high enough level or item level that I will be able to effectively deal with those on my own. So just be aware of that. I also wanted to pop into the Rising Stones real quick, because you may have noticed that, interestingly, the Minstrel only had Thornton for us, which is, to be fair, he also only had Ultima Weapon back in A Realm Reborn, but might be asking, we haven't seen the EX quests for Ravana or Bismarck yet, and we'll get to those. But first, let's run around in here, because I don't think we've talked to these folks in a while. I'll read that just in case. I was one of those to answer the Scion's call to arms, and volunteer my blade against the at the siege of Ishgard. It was there that I made the acquaintance of this fair fellow. And I believe he is one of the people that we met. Riol and Lady Yugiri have already left to pursue rumors of the missing Scions. I think I might head to Gridania myself and make some inquiries there. We have some people over here. Your bravery shall not soon be forgotten. Oh, I recognize these four. They are not going to be relevant yet, but they will be later. Alian? To help widen the net of our search efforts, I've recruited a small army of seasoned adventurers, friends from my own days in the dungeon delving trade. I am sorry that I refused your plea for aid, but aside from the very real dangers that Ishgard faced, I sensed something not quite right about the Crystal Braves. Oh, sure, now you tell us. Ugh. Not like a well-earned drink after a hard day's work. Sildur. I came as soon as I heard news of Alian's capture. These old bones do not move as quickly as they once did, and the worst of it had ended by the time I arrived in the toll. Ome? And so the moment you learned your young companion was in danger, you hastened here with an axe in hand. Such fighting spirit. We shall be fine friends, you and I. Old Man Yowie. Yippee! Ah, yes, these two, my favorite. Oh, Aenor, why must you always fall for these tragic types? And it is not as if we need another healer. I've met a new man, but he spends more time talking about his lost sibling than aught else. Maybe you've met the missing brother. I hear he used to work here. And Ochre Boulder. Oh! For 1,000 days I walked along the edges of Abelathia's fiery craters, tempering both mind and body that I might withstand the rigors of battle at my brother's side. When at last I felt I was prepared, I traveled to Mordona, only to be greeted with news that Hori is nowhere to be found. So that's Hoary Boulder's brother. And this is the small army of adventurers that Alianne hired to help find Duscions. We'll be seeing more of them invariably as time goes on. Let's also just hop in here real quick. I don't think he's going to be in here yet. No. But it's nice to pop in here sometimes, you know. It's very empty now. Oh, God, my lips are so fucking chapped. These dry months already always fuck with me. Alright. One other thing I want to do. I want to swing by... Actually... No, these are all... Yeah, these are all ones we've seen before. I wanted to drop by the Waking Sands. It's been a while since we've been back there, but I believe that is where there's another couple of quests we can take. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to do them today. Let's see. Just see if there's anything different in the Waking Sands. Okay, yeah. It's actually not where I thought it was. It's in the Pillars. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we're not going to do these just yet, I don't think. Because, yeah. For some reason, they still hadn't kicked this habit in Heavensward yet, where the first two trial extremes, for those quests, you actually have to complete the extreme trials in order to complete the quest, instead of just getting the quest and unlocking, you know? And the quests to unlock Bismarck and Ravana Extreme are ones that we will do once we have a person to help us unsync them, I think. Now, let's see. Let me look at my list here and see if there is anything else that we can knock out today before we go. I don't think so. I think we are at our limit as for what we can accomplish today in terms of unlocking stuff. Still feels good to get all of those sightseeing logs out of the way. Let's just look around up here and see what quests we have, just to run my eyes over them. Sky Pirates, Gods of Eld, Contradicting Convictions. Yeah, okay. I know what all of those are now. Yeah. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna run to the bathroom really quick, and then I'm gonna do kind of just a quick outro and talk a little bit maybe about some ideas that I have. I don't know how many people are necessarily here to actually hear this idea and want to comment on it, but we will get to that when I return. So give me just a moment. I will be right back. I don't remember what my hide UI button is. Teehee. Anyway. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so, I think I might have mentioned this before, but an idea that I had is, because I have all three encyclopedias Eorzea, I was considering that as kind of a separate series, one thing I could do is I could record myself reading, like chapter by chapter, the stuff in the Encyclopedia Eorzea, and then upload that to my YouTube. Just for people who don't own the book or want some easy listening kind of ASMR of me talking. It'd probably be a lot less, like, jokes, necessarily, and more just kind of, like, the reading of everything. Also just as kind of, like, a little editing project for myself. Of course, the thing about that is something that would take a whole lot of effort on my part. And I probably, due to the fact that I still haven't finished editing all three of the Beast Tribe videos, which I promise I'm still working on that. And by that I mean I finished the Vanu Vanu one, and then I have not started any of the other ones because I have been obsessed with playing Minecraft. But I swear, as soon as those get done, and we're ready to do the Allied Tribe quest, those will all get uploaded. But anyway, I was thinking that maybe for some milestone or something, if there is a period of time where I do like a lot of streams, or I don't think I would ever do a subathon because I don't have that many people who watch me enough to actually merit that being a thing. But if I made, like, a follower goal or a subscriber goal, probably not a follower goal, but like a subscriber goal or like a donation goal or something, where the incentive is reading and recording and editing chapters of the Encyclopedia Eorzea together, I was just curious to know if that would be something that people would be interested in. Mostly just gauging interest right here, not particularly saying that it is going to happen or how it's going to happen, but I will say that if it does happen, it will probably be something that you guys need to... it would be an incentive for you guys to reach, basically. I would like to do it, but again, it is something that I would need to commit a lot of time to. In order to get it correctly done in time, recorded nicely, and so on and so forth. Especially, let me fucking tell you, this, like, first chapter or so of, or this first major section of, the first Encyclopedia Eorzea book, oh my god, there is so much shit in, like, even these first 12 pages. It is a lot. Because it's explaining a lot of, like, very basic concepts, you know? But yeah. There you go. Once again, I might, maybe throw some polls out, see if people would be interested. I don't have a huge audience, and, you know, I don't particularly think that anything that I do is necessarily going to reach a massive amount of people. I'm basically just streaming for my friends, which I don't hate. I'm pretty happy about that. This is one of those things that, like, if I can be a little self-deprecating for a moment, feels really arrogant of me to do. Like, yeah, guys, I'm not going to do this thing that I already want to do unless you give me money. And get people to look at my stuff. I want more people to watch me. But, you know, it's time, it's effort, it's stuff that I have to put, you know, thought and stuff into. And as much as I am happy to do this series, basically for free. I mean, yes, for free. You know, I don't know. I'd like to have some semblance of professionalism, you know? Anyway, I think that is probably going to do it for today. We accomplished basically everything that I thought we were going to be able to accomplish today, which is to say not a whole lot, but it's enough. Next time, chances are we are probably going to have a actual MSQ progression stream. That's going to be what we're going to be doing next time for sure. No word on necessarily when that would be yet. Depending upon scheduling. I don't know. We'll see who, who's next up on the guest list to come on for that. Because also we're getting close to a couple of situations that certain people specifically asked to be present for, or in one particular case, had somebody said, Nico should do this, which is not Relics. Nico is doing Relics with me because that's Nico's thing. But I think it was maybe Otaku who voluntold Nico that he was going to be doing another quest line, and I would like to have Otaku with me for Hildebrand. That seems like a fun tradition to start up. But yeah, everything else is kind of not set in stone just yet. But yeah, once again, thank you all very much for watching. Apologies again for last month's kind of spotty stream record. It's seasonal depression. Oh yeah. I don't know. Whatever.